boy is electric.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my Mini Electric. Welcome to another video about Mini Electrics. And yeah, I thought I'd do a video discussing and commenting on the release of spy shots of the new Mini Electric that's due out in 2023, and information that I've found out from Mini as well. Because I think it's a really interesting discussion. You see new car manufacturers like MG with the MG4, and there's a big fuss about it, but there's very little talk about what's going on with the new Mini Electric. So I thought I'd add to that and give you my thoughts. Anyway, this is the interior shot of my Mini. We are at Sainsbury's. Susan's just gone in to do some shopping. I drove her here, so I thought I'd just do this video. It's a bit early. I haven't been up long, but anyway, time to talk about the new Mini Electric. Right, there we go. There's a lot to talk about Mini, and it's a bit of a quirky brand, and it is the brand and the customers and what Mini are possibly thinking in why they're doing this, you know, build in China. I'm sure if you followed the Mini journey and you know what's going on, then there's talk about them having an alliance with the Great Wall of China car company, and the platform for the new Mini is going to be Chinese built. The electrification, the battery and the motor, etc., that's all going to come from the Great Wall of China. And shared design with, I think, the Aura Cat in some description. I don't know whether that's rumour or whether that's real, but if it's a platform that the Great Wall of China are using with Mini, then they'll be using it for other things. That just makes logical sense. So the fact that there's not a lot of talk about the Aura Cat and the Mini having some similarities, well, I'm sure Mini doesn't really want that similarity discussed that much. But it's a big departure, isn't it? Because we see Mini as a British brand. It's built in Oxford. It's got Union Jacks all over the car, on the headlights and on every bit of design in the car. You know, a lot of them are driving around with Union Jacks on the roof, etc. So it's a very British car, and it's a very retro car. It's different to a lot of other electric cars that's out there. It harks back to the legacy of the original Mini. Now, physical size it's not, but proportionally, compared to the size of a lot of cars, it is a small car, and it does do well. The F56, which is the model number for the Mini that I'm in, the current one, the 2022 car, that is, I think it's a really pretty car. It's got lots of circles, lots of round. It's got the straight edge down the side, which is traditional with the Mini. It's got a very narrow letterbox windscreen, just like the original Mini. There's so much design that harks back to the original that it's authentic. It is what you want it to be for a Mini. But equally, it's also a BMW car. It's a premium brand. The interior of this one is, well, it's pretty special. Full leather interior. They're very sumptuous sports seats. Lots of specification in the car. You know, this one's got heated seats, sunroof, heads-up display, Harman Kardon, stereo system, heated steering wheel, heat pump. Yeah. There's a lot of tech in this car. There's a lot more tech in other cars, I know, but it's a quality car. It's well built. It performs extremely well. It handles really well. It's extremely unique in the market at the moment for electric cars on what it is, because it ticks so many boxes. But who does it tick a box for? And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. Who buys these Minis? Well, when you look at the advertising from Mini, it's all youngsters hopping around and dancing around, and they're making it seem youthful. Now, I'm not quite sure why that is necessarily, because I see the market for Minis in two places. One, it's an expensive product, so who has the money to buy a Mini, and who likes the authentic look of the Mini? And that's the older people. It's people like me. So there's a big market for Minis, and when I talked to my main dealer the other day, Listers in Boston, they confirmed that they think because of their area where they are, they do have a large proportion of customers that are older, and they're older customers rebuying Mini after Mini after Mini, which is another point, because we've got a very loyal customer base with Mini, repeat buyers. So if they're advertising to the youngsters and making it seem youthful, and it's the older generation that are actually buying it in droves, the younger generation can't afford to buy it because the car manufacturers these days are all stopping producing cheap entry-level cars like the original Mini 1 that you could get for under £20,000. They've never really produced that in the electric. They produced the level 1, but then they stopped producing it. So you can only get the more premium ones. So they're trying to sell the car as a premium product for a lot of money. They're not trying to encourage actually sales with first-time buyers of cars with the youth. So why advertise to the youth? Well, I suppose there's a lot of Minis that are purchased as presents. Yeah, there are wealthy families out there that want second and third cars and cars for their children, and if they want an electric, then I'll just buy you a Mini electric. Lucky how some people are, and it's a different world that these people live in. But yeah, it does happen. The youngsters you see driving around are probably in cars paid for by their parents. It's not something I really believe in. I believe in, as a child, you should get yourself out to work, earn your money, save your money, and be as independent as you can. Even though I've got some money in the bank and I could give it to my children, I don't think that does them any favours. So I don't personally believe in giving huge things like cars to children. I think they need to earn it and deserve it, and then they'll appreciate it more. But anyway, my point is, we're starting to talk now about what Mini is as a brand and who are they selling to. They're selling to people with money. They're selling a premium product, a quality product, to people that can afford £30,000 to £40,000 for a Mini electric with low range. People that probably aren't going to drive so far. A lot of Minis don't have high mileage on them. And then there's the youthful side where they are being bought on leases and as presents, and there are younger people, affluent younger people, that want a stylish car. So when you look at what's available as a stylish young car, you've got the Honda E. It's got a style to it. It's pretty good. The Peugeot, no. The Vauxhall, no. They don't really tick any boxes for that stylishness, but the Fiat 500 does, and the Mini does. So those trio of small cars are really capturing the market for the style. When the Aura Cat comes along, it's got a style. But I think the style is more attractive to people that like the look of the price. It's not necessarily the best styling looking car. Personally, I think the Aura Cat looks a bit Porsche-like on the front, which is great, but it looks like a Nissan Leaf Mark 1 from the back. So it's almost like they've chopped the car in two and had two teams of designers do it. It's not for me. It's not a quality design, in my opinion. The Fiat 500, the Mini, and the Honda E, they are. And the Mini, in my opinion, is the pick of the bunch from those three. The Fiat 500, though, is a different look and a different authentic look, so that appeals to people that like the Fiat 500. So you start to see that you've got this customer base of older people, younger people that want an authentic look, people that want the historic British Mini, etc. But all of these things are sort of going against what Mini are actually doing, because Mini traditionally is about cheap transport, about cheaper cars, and they have previously had entry-level cars to sell. Now they don't, so the marketing of BMW Mini is going in one direction, on selling fewer of them, selling higher priced versions of them, higher quality with more tech on board, and therefore they must be changing who they're selling them to. They're not selling them for more first-time car buyers. So in my opinion, they're moving more away from the youthful side and the younger generation being able to get in a Mini, and more towards those that have just got money. So you're talking about the older generation that are retiring, having an electric Mini, and also the generations with more money available. If you look at the lease price of Minis and compare it to other cars like the Corsa and the 208, the Mini's always more expensive. I'm not sure why that is, whether they perceive that residuals aren't as good. I'm not sure why it is, but it's always more expensive. So the Mini's not a cheap product to get into. If you want the Mini, you've got to pay for it. And I guess if that's one of the big issues about choosing an electric car. What are you choosing it for? I want the biggest range. I want the cheapest car. It's what ticks your box, the biggest boot. And with the Mini, the people are going to want the look of it and how it drives. Those are the two big things: the look and the quality and the badge and the brand. And you buy into what a Mini is. So let's get all the way around. The 2023 model is going to be built in China. So the media is telling us. So that's telling us that the F56 model is going to disappear in 2023, and the new model is going to come out. It's going to be both petrol models in the same new shape on the same platform, and also electric. And the electric are going to be built in China, and the electric convertible, which will be the old F56 style still, that'll be built in Oxford. But I was told the other day by my dealership that actually those are sort of whispers and rumours in the industry, and the Chinese production of the Mini Electric is actually going to be from 2025. Then also I heard another rumour that the Chinese production Minis are going to be for the Asian China market. So if you start to add all these things together, it's not absolutely certain that the Mini Electric in Oxford is going to stop production and going to all go out to China next year. It does seem like there's a possibility, because I don't think it's been officially released by Mini yet to say what they are actually doing, but it's looking like a possibility that they could build the UK electrics in Britain until 2025, and then it's planned to build them all in China. And it could be just that the Asian market is going to be supplied by China itself. So where they're going to be built and when that build is going to start from, I don't think is fully confirmed yet. I think there's a lot of rumours in the press, but what I heard from the Mini dealership was that it's 2025 for when they're going to be built all in China. Until then, they will be built here in the UK in Oxford. Whether that's actually true or whether I've been led up the garden path by the dealership, I'm not quite sure, but I thought I'd share that with you. So that's the first thing. But the next thing is with the spy shots of the car that are coming out. What do you think of the actual car? And I've been quite nervous and apprehensive of the new car, because if it's Chinese built and Chinese platform, and depending on how much design's gone in and the motor's changing, the battery's changing, well, the drive and how it drives is one of the important things of why I wanted to choose the Mini. So if they put a different motor in and the performance isn't right, and the electronics for how you engage with that and the steering and the suspension, if all of that isn't right, then it'll be a lesser car. So my thought is, if Mini are going to build the electric in China, they're doing that for economic reasons, so they can make more profit, they can build it cheaper, those sort of things. Which is all great, making a cheaper product, but the customers that are buying Mini don't want a cheaper product. What they want is the premium product. It's got to be better. So for us to have a lesser car, i.e. built in China, and have any association with a lesser brand, the Great Wall of China company is a lesser brand in our minds, they have to make the car better. So how are they going to make the car better? And when I look at the spy shots, it doesn't start to look better. Now, I don't know how it drives, obviously, but let's just presume that they've worked some magic and it is going to drive better. I've seen the specs that are coming out. They're going to be two models, two battery sizes, both bigger than the current Mini. I think one at 40-something kilowatt hours, another one at 50-something kilowatt hours. It sounds like they're still going to be efficient. So we're going to have nearly 200 miles and well over 200 miles of range in the Mini, and two performance levels, a higher performance model than the current Mini Electric. So that all sounds positive from a drivetrain point of view, if it's nice and smooth, if it really, really works. And if the suspension's good and the steering's good and all those sort of things. But the interiors and the exterior look. Now, this is the bit I suppose I should have almost started with, because this is like the crux of the video. When you look at the interior shots of the spy pictures that came out quite recently, it looks very bland. It looks very modern. It looks very open. It looks like Mini are doing what other manufacturers are doing and go for a less cluttered interior, a less traditional interior, a more modern interior, using materials that are more sustainable. So getting away from the old leather and moving to the new. But the problem is, we talked right at the beginning of who they are selling the cars to. And those people are, like me, wanting this sort of premium product. So why are Mini designing a more youthful, modern, sustainable... Yeah, there's nothing wrong with sustainable, let's get that right. I like the idea of sustainable products and products built from recycling materials. I think that's great, but I don't think that should come at a loss of quality. And if given the choice between the two, I would choose the quality. I'm sorry to say, but I like the idea of developing materials that are more sustainable and reusable and recyclable. but the quality needs to be there for a product like the Mini. And what I've seen in the spy shots looks lesser to me. Now, one of the things that I've seen is this picture here, and it shows that there's no dash binnacle anymore. And I sort of understand that, because I commented on the video, if you've got a heads-up display just a couple of inches higher than the main dash of the car, then what do you need the main dash for? Just make the heads-up display a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, and it suddenly becomes both the heads-up display and the dash. So if they've done something like that, I think that's a good thing. But it started to declutter the front and go for that minimalist look, whereas a lot of other manufacturers are then putting long, straight dashes in. So more digital screen, more data, more information. And BMW have definitely gone that route. So why haven't Mini? Mini have gone for more like the Tesla look, where there's no dash there, and they're just going to have this screen at the side. Yeah, the screen at the side. It's a giant circle screen, so even bigger than what's there before, and they've gone again with the circle, which isn't very good for presenting information. It's not very good for design. Looks a little bit odd, but it's harking back to the traditional side of the Mini, which some people think is good. But when you look at more of the design of the car, you start to see more of the round designs disappearing. Even on the lights, you know, with the Countryman, the round lights are more disappearing, and they're going with more triangular looks to it, sharper lines. So they're moving away from the circles, and you can see that on the Aceman as well. The lights are not looking the same, they're not looking circular. You can see that on the spy pictures of the Mini. The front, well, that does look round, which is a bit odd, because the back's not. The back looks more triangular. And if they're moving away from the circles everywhere and going for more straight lines, again, if you look at the Aceman, you can see the wheel arches are actually squared off, the handles are squared off. There's a lot more straight lines on the car, and that seems to be a design choice. They're going for a more modern, sharper look. And I think that is what's coming with the Mini Electric. So although what we can see in these spy shots isn't the production car, and they could actually change it, if you look at the design philosophy in the Aceman that they released, and of the Countryman spy shots that we've seen, then all of those pictures point towards a common design philosophy. And if that's what they're doing, and they're doing it across multiple cars, then they are pushing it in a big way, and therefore I say it's going to happen. So this interior that you can see here with the spy shot looks consistent enough with the Aceman, and looks consistent enough with the spy shots of the Countryman, to think that that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a reduced centre console area. It's still going to be a delineated area in the centre between the two. It's not going to be open like the Honda E. The 5 buttons that I've got at the moment, and the heater controls, that's going to be simplified to just a few buttons, and instead of being piano black and shiny stuff, it looks like they're going for a really light, cheap looking grey plastic. Now those might be non-production switches, but they do seem consistent, and it is rather worrying. So you're getting a more simplistic look, cheaper looking and feeling materials by the look of it, less buttons and switches, a big screen that contradicts the sharp lines that they're putting in the designs elsewhere. If they're going for those straighter lines, that dash should have been straighter, and it should have been almost the whole length or the width of the car. The dash area in front of the steering wheel and to the side, they should have put more in, but they haven't. So it's a little bit worrying that what I'm starting to see is cheaper materials, a cheaper looking interior, a design philosophy which is moving away from the traditional side of Mini and going for a more modern, upbeat car. And yet the customers don't necessarily want that. The customers, the repeat customers, want that authentic Mini look. They want that style. They want the quality. So Mini are taking a huge gamble here, in my opinion. They're moving their production out to China, which will alienate a lot of people, because we want a British car. That will no doubt not matter to them if they sell twice as many out in a different market. So clearly Mini are probably doing it for money, not worrying about the local market. The local market here in the UK, it is more people like me that are buying it and want this quality luxury feel, and yet they're clearly not going to reduce the price of the car. They want to sell it for even more, no doubt. Prices of cars and electric cars are just going up and up and up. So even though it's produced in China, this isn't going to be a cheap car. This is going to be expensive, and they want me to spend £30,000 to £40,000 on a Mini. But why am I going to do that if it doesn't tick the boxes for what I want on that gorgeous brand look, that gorgeous quality, that great feel to the car? If they're lessening it in any way, Am I really that just diehard a Mini fan? I'll buy whatever they produce and wherever they produce it from. I don't think so. I have my standards, and they have to tick the boxes for me to want it. I'm not one of these people that have had Minis all my life, for example, and there are people out there, but I will walk away if it's not such a good product. And I've heard a lot of other people say they'll walk away just because it's produced in China. So it is a risky move. They must be doing it on the basis of wanting to sell a lot more of the cars and make more profit from the cars. But I see some quandaries here. I see that Mini are producing a product which goes against what their existing customers want from a Mini. I see them moving away from the traditional, authentic Mini look with lots of circles and moving to a more modern look. And yet I'm not convinced the customers want that modern look. So we're talking about a new type of Mini customer that they're going for. What a risk, because Mini is a successful brand. It's a brilliant brand. They've sold huge volumes of cars on the road. If you actually look, there are just Minis everywhere. So Mini is great for BMW. It's a very profitable brand. And to play with that and to make such big, bold changes is really, really brave. And what I'm seeing is I think they're making some mistakes. The design is a halfway house. If they're going for more angular sharp lines and a modern look, they should do it. And yet, what's this big round screen in there for then? It's just not tying in. I get that the front windscreen needed to be more raked. That's better for aero, it's better for stone chips, because the Mini is quite an upright screen and you do get a lot of stone chips on it. So that's better design, I like that. The fact they've made the interior a little bit more spacious, I like that. But to make the car actually shorter, even though it's on a longer wheelbase, makes that back windscreen very, very flat. So it's a very squared off back, which I'm not sure makes it look as an attractive a car. I've yet to see it in the real life, of course. But that on its own is a brave look, because they've made it smaller, but they've made it bigger. So it's only a case of really, can they get away with that based on the quality? The bonnet itself, it's an unusual design with the Mini, because it goes around the lights. So the lights aren't integrated to the bonnet, and it doesn't just go around the edge of them. It actually encapsulates them, and the whole front of the car, including the side wings, comes up at the same time when you lift the bonnet up on the Mini. So they're changing that just to be a little flat bonnet now that just comes up on its own, and no doubt that's production costs. So everything's been designed to be a cheaper produced product. So that's my concern with the Mini. I can see what they're doing and why they're doing it. They see more profit, they see more volume, they see they've got a premium brand, they can keep trying to sell at a premium price, but they're trying to now reduce production costs by changing the design to cut out some of the expensive parts of that design and some of the expensive components and materials that they use. And no doubt with the chip shortage, they're probably trying to consolidate on that as well to make more chips available, less chips used in the car, all those sort of things. But who's their customer base? And that's the issue. Now, I'm looking at it from a UK point of view, and if this holds true, that my concerns come to fruition, that their customer base aren't going to like what they're producing, then the UK market is going to decline, and hence, if the UK market's declining and they've moved production out of the UK as well, then Mini's not it's not staying as a British brand. Perhaps that's their overall plan, that they don't mind and they're just going to sell more elsewhere. That's really sad, isn't it? It's really sad that I can see this potential. I can see this conflict with what the existing customers want from the car, and the design doesn't look like it's going to meet our expectations. It doesn't look like it's going to be a better, higher quality car that I want to pay more money, a desirable product. I haven't seen anything that says, wow, I'm really looking forward to that, I want it. And perhaps it's not this iteration of the Chinese build Mini that will be the one to go for. Perhaps it'll be the facelift after that, because hopefully they'll correct some of the mistakes. The back, for example, with these lights and the triangles, well, if they're going for round lights on the front and triangles on the back, that just doesn't work for me. And this straight line across the boot, if it's a fully integrated LED light bar, then it's too big and too bold. What's the point of it just to say Cooper on the back? That's more of a Chinese way of doing things, big badges. Mini's more subtle. It doesn't need big badges. You know it's a Mini, but just by looking at it, you do not need a yard-long Cooper sign to tell you it's a Cooper. it's a bit of a joke, in my opinion. So that straight bar across there is just a bad bit of design. I can't see the point to it. I'd like to see a simpler, slicker design, and if they're going to have a bar across there, then make it lights and make it integrated into the boot and make it smaller and thinner. But if you're going to go for straighter lines, then do it more all over the car. The dash needs to be, the dash displays needs to be straight instead of this giant round thing. And if they're going for iDrive, which I haven't heard that they're not going to, it's going to be an iDrive interface without a twiddly, spinny knob. It's all going to be touch interface on the screen. So interesting times ahead. Hope you found this chat useful. What are your thoughts about the new Mini Electric? What have you seen and heard, and what do you think? Obviously, bear in mind that most of this is all rumours and conjecture and pre-production cars. The actual statements coming out of Mini of what they're actually doing are few and far between. Even the dealers don't have a clue. They don't have a clue what the inside is going to look like, what the outside is going to look like, the spec levels. It's all rumours. There is no information, hard facts to say this is what is actually happening. But it looks like the new shape Mini will be available even in the UK sometime in 2023, probably towards the end of the year. So the middle of the year people might start ordering, and then end of the year they might actually be getting the new style Mini. So if you want a Mini Electric and you want a bigger battery, you might want to wait for this new one. But what a risk you might be taking on getting a car that isn't as authentic and isn't as good. Are the F56 Mini Electrics going to become the best of the Mini brand into the future? Are they going to be a collectible car? Because they are brilliant. The only thing that goes against them is the shorter range and shorter battery, but they do everything extremely well. So maybe it's just going to be a better car to have one of these F56 cars rather than the new ones. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Mini have got this all under control and they know what their markets are, and they are going to meet the UK expectations of quality and design. And I hope some of these pre-production things that I've seen and the Aceman look of the interior is not what's coming. I hope there is a premium interior option that's coming that satisfies people like me. Because I want the outside to look premium, I want the inside to look premium, and I want Mini to be successful. I don't mind if it's an expensive product. I wish they would release a cut down, stripped out, cheaper version as well, but that's not the way all car manufacturers are going. They're all reducing the quality they produce, apart from Tesla, and just trying to sell bigger cars with more options on them to make the money differently. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and listening. Quite a long video, quite a rebel, and I hope you've enjoyed these spy shots that I half lifted, half inched off the internet. Yeah, it's interesting times, and I can't wait to see whether they pull it off or whether they don't. So go on, Mini, make sure that you do a really good job, and don't let my concerns come to be, because it would be a really sad day if people in the UK don't want to buy a Mini anymore. Take care. See you again soon. Bye for now.